Questions, comments?
We're talking about how much testing we're doing, but at the same time, in New York City, officials told medical providers to stop testing people who don't require hospitalization because of the shortage. How does that sort of, match up?
Well, look, the number of tests will be a calibration at one point. I believe New York City's actions, Melissa knows better than I, but I believe New York City's actions was more on the availability of gowns and equipment. And that's a situation that we're all struggling with. We just are going to send them a big shipment. But I can see local calibrations that different localities are making or hospitals are making on protocols within their hospitals. But we have to get down this. The bottom line remains, we cannot handle the wave at the high point. The wave has to come down. And that is density control. And New York City, give me a plan, especially for the parks and young people. And that is testing. And we're doing more than any place in the country. But testing, isolation, testing, isolation.
Is the city giving you some sense of what those density controls, particularly?
We haven't gotten the plan yet, Jesse. I said yesterday I wanted a plan in 24 hours. I had a conversation with the mayor. I had a conversation with the city council speaker, Corey Johnson. We talked through a number of things. I said, put it on a piece of paper, because in truth, whatever I get from New York City, I then want to do in Westchester, Nassau, Suffolk. I don't want people saying in New York City, well, I'll just get in the car and go to Westchester, or get in the car or go to Nassau. That's why the geographic template has been very important, but I haven't gotten it yet. We had a conversation on parameters, but I actually want a plan on paper.
This would be in addition to the density control measures you already have.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. This is all in addition. Look, I went there. My density control measures weren't enough. That was clear. You could look at a park in Brooklyn, Manhattan. It almost looked like any Saturday, any sunny Saturday when I went. Jim?
Yeah, I'm wondering, to go to Marina's question about testing, there seems to be much more focus downstate than upstate. Why is that occurring? And are there plans to distribute resources? And also, maybe Dr. Zucker, we know the global number of ICU beds, but I have to imagine there's more strain localized downstate. So what are those numbers specifically downstate?
You go where the need is, Jimmy. You follow the science, you follow the numbers, you listen to the data. The majority of our cases are coming out of New York City. So you go where the need is, you go where the numbers are. Dr. Zucker, do you want to?
Sure, thank you, Governor. So the vast majority of the ICU beds are downstate. It's proportional that most of a lot of hospital beds are down there. So 2/3 of those are pretty much in the city and the metropolitan area around the city. Well, what we have now is we have, as the governor mentioned, we have about 600 individuals in the ICU, but we have many more ICU beds. But we have to, as the governor said, prepare for the potential for many more patients to come in.
Give me 1 second, Joseph. I don't care upstate, downstate. This is one state, and we're planning for one state. If you get overloaded in Albany, then I'm going to use the hospital beds in Utica. If I get overloaded in Buffalo, I'm going to use the hospital beds in Rochester. If I get overloaded in New York City, I'm going to use the hospital beds upstate. There is no upstate, downstate here. It's one state. I'm sorry.
Well, my question was how many of those ICUs that are currently available to 600 people in them now? You said that the breakout mechanism is totally in the state.
Do you know, Dr. Zucker, the current open capacity of ICU beds?
I don't know the exact number, but I haven't spoken to some of the hospital leadership members. There are beds, and they are working to create more ICU beds, because you can actually turn beds that are a recovery room bed into an ICU bed, and this is what the team that the governor asked the hospital associations to work on, and we'll have a report from them shortly.
A lot of hospital workers are saying that they're being told to go without using a mask or use a scarf. What would you say to them? Is there a resolution to that, or do you think, is there any hope
I haven't heard the specifics about that, but I know that we have supplies available, and as the governor mentioned in the slide, that we are providing them with more of the protective equipment, both masks as well as gowns.
Governor, let me just say on that. Larry Schwartz has been handling the supplies, finding supplies, with Simonita Subotic, and they've been doing an extraordinary job. Kara's going to join their team. There is no one in this state today who should be able to, who can say legitimately, I can't get a mask. If you cannot get a mask, you saw the numbers we're sending out. We just were successful in getting more, and today we can get masks to anyone who needs them, and gowns. I can't promise you next week or the week thereafter, and that's why I want to see the federal government do this Federal Defense Production Act and stop this ad hoc voluntarism. But today, there is no one who we can't cover. Pardon the pun with the mask.
Governor, have there been any additional measures to limit the spread of the virus in state prisons, jails, youth facilities?
We have different policies that we put in place all across the board, mirroring the nursing homes, no visitors, same type of policies in prison facilities and other facilities.
Are you considering issuing clemency for elderly workers in state prisons?
It's something we're looking at, yes.
Governor, the president said basically that the cure might be worse than the disease itself. Can you comment on that, and especially in light of you saying that we need to start to look at restarting the economy after this?
Yeah, look, you have to walk and chew gum in life. I don't have the luxury, no executive really has the luxury of being one-dimensional. I'm very proud of the measures we've taken to address this public health crisis. You look at our numbers, we've done things that no other state in the country has done. But I'm also very aware that you cannot, it is unsustainable to run this state or run this country with the economy closed down, right? We're spending hundreds of millions of dollars. You have people laid off. You have to get the economy up and running. So that has to be planned at the same time. And Steve Cohen and Bill Mulrow are going to do that. There's another complication, which is what Dr. Katz is talking about. Can you have a more refined public health strategy that is also more productive or less destructive to the economy? Could there be a more intelligent public health strategy that is more productive or less destructive for the economy? Meaning, is it smart to put Kara with me, right? Is it smart to have college kids coming home, kids staying home from school next to their grandmother? Is that a smart public health policy? Shouldn't you have stratified the risk? That's the public health question. And if you stratify the risk, can people start going back to work and you start to restart that economy? So you're doing smart public health policy and smart economic policy. I think there is a line, a dot where those two lines cross. You have to identify it, and that's what we're going to start to work through.
Do you feel it's overkill at this point?
No, I have no second thoughts on actions that I have taken. I would make the same decisions today. I have no second thought on going to zero non-essential workers. We sat here every day, Jesse, we saw that scale ticking up. I turned the valve a little bit, I turned the valve a little bit, I turned the valve a little, made no difference. I turned the valve off. By the way, it still hasn't brought the rate down low enough, so I have no second thoughts. I'm sure there will be political consequences. I know people are very angry about it. I had a gentleman tell me, there's no way this state will ever reelect you because of what you did. Frankly, I don't even care about that. I did the right thing, and I'm proud of it. At the same time, at one point, you have to open the valve, right? You have to open the valve because that is oxygen for the economy, and this is not sustainable.
Please speak to, it doesn't appear in the 2 executive orders issued over the weekend that there were specific rules on canceling all gatherings and large gatherings. Can you speak to if those rules are a recommendation, or do you plan on putting those in writing in an executive order?
Yeah, I'm not sure what you're referring to. Do you know what we're...
No, it's a directive. We put it out a couple of days ago. There's no gatherings of any kind, including weddings, parties, birthday parties. It's a directive across the board. If you're saying that there's some confusion about that, I'll ensure that it's in an executive order today, but that was a directive. It's not a recommendation.
You can get married. It's just a very small convenience, which is also very cost-effective. It's like elopement. It's a government policy.
Are we going to do the state budget? The Medicaid bill in Congress is still the same. Senator Kruger said that she doesn't think pot sales should be in it. Where does that all stand at this point?
She doesn't think what I'm saying?
She doesn't think that pot sales or marijuana sales are going to be part of the budget at this point.
The legislature is going to do their job, just like the executive is going to do their job, which is our way of honoring the heroes in public service today, the police officers, the firefighters, the nurses, the health workers, the food delivery workers, the pharmacy workers, all those people who have to go out and do their job, right? So the legislature will do their job, the executive will do their job. We will pass a budget, and not just a budget. We will pass a budget and address the policy items that we laid out and we discussed, because it's not just about passing a budget and the numbers. There are many policy initiatives that I laid out back in January, and we're going to pursue all of them. The only caveat was, if you have a really complex issue that normally would require weeks of nuanced, detailed negotiation to do it right, that we won't do. Because I don't want to pass any bills that are not really intelligent that I then have to come back and deal with again next year. So if it's a highly complex issue, I get it. And then let's put it off because we don't want to do something sloppy. But otherwise, no. Bail reform has to be done. I want to do legalizing marijuana.
What does bail reform look like then?
What does bail reform look like?
Yeah, what do you want to see changes to?
I think, well, you have different positions on bail reform, right? You have the Assembly, you have the Senate, you have my proposal that I did last year, you have people that are very concerned out there, strong opinions on both sides. I just want to see a resolution and progress, and I want to see it in the budget.
What about, the benefit
You can just say.
team recommended $2.5 billion worth of cuts. There are people, I know that's a structural thing for the budget, but we're also really strained in the healthcare system now. Can you do that now? Do you agree with those cuts? And are you thinking about any other way to get through this Medicaid issue?
There are different things in there, right? You have many costs in Medicaid that have absolutely nothing to do with anything we are doing now. And you have many parts of Medicaid that have grown exponentially, where frankly there is gross waste. And almost periodically, you have to go to any of these government programs and you have to question every premise. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? And you will find there are ways to save money. And that's what we're doing here. We have I want to show you videos that the state is running to help communicate to New Yorkers the need to stay home, the need to isolate, because we're trying to get out the message. I've been saying it. and everyone's been saying it, but we have to do a better job communicating, so we're trying a number of other vehicles. So just show them the, oh, I have to do it. I have to do everything myself.
Hello, this is Robert De Niro. We all need to stay home. We need to stop the spread of this virus, and we can only do it together. Not just to protect ourselves, but to protect others and all the older people you love. Please. I'm watching you.
Hi, everybody. It's Danny DeVito, and I'm asking you from the bottom of my heart, all over the state of New York, stay home. I mean, everybody. I mean, we got this virus, this pandemic, and, you know, young people can get it, and they can transmit it to old people. And the next thing you know, I'm out of there. So Governor Cuomo asked me to ask you, please, do us a favor, all of us, and stay home, not spread this virus around. Thank you. Watch a little TV, why don't you?
One more questions. Go ahead, Jesse.
Can you talk a little bit about how the infrastructure of New York City, people living on top of each other, giant apartment buildings, subways, how that might just be contributing to the spread of coronavirus?
Density controls, density contributes to the spread of the virus. Airborne, sneezing, coughing, and density in that I touch this table. The virus could live here for 2 days. You come tomorrow, I'm gone. You touch that spot. In New York City, all that density, a lot of people are touching a lot of spots, right? Park bench, grocery counter, you know, just picture the city in daily life. And that's why in denser areas, you'll have a higher rate of spread than in more suburban and more rural communities. It's just a function of interaction and proximity. I have to go to the Javits Center. Thank you very much, guys.